Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 15th episode of The Breakfast Dish. 15. Karen, how you feeling?
I'm feeling like I remember when you were 15, son. So at this point of our podcast should be just like a little talkie-backy, growing like a weed, and just starting high school and really nervous. So...
Sorry, 1 second. You want me to be a little bit more talkie-backy on the podcast? I make fun of you, frankly, too much.
No. The podcast itself at age 15, at episode 15, should be talking back to me, refusing to clean their room, and starting to shave.
Name one more memory from when I'm 15 for the public. Let's do it.
Acne?
What? That's the... Come on, you have to be...
The Shakespeare Company's Richard III.
Was I 15 at that time?
You were 14 going on 15.
Ooh, I got to stab Trevor Lee in that show, and then he ran up the shaft of my spear and bit a blood pack on my neck and spat it into the audience, and you screamed so loud. I remember that vividly because it's one of the only times while acting I looked into the audience and for a second I was like, Mom, what are you doing?
Shut up, Mom. Oh, God.
All right, enough about me. That's too much. Karen, what do we do on the breakfast dish?
Well,
lay it on. Yeah.
Lay it on the listeners.
I was almost gonna get you to rap it again. Let's not do it.
I will LIOTL. Lay it on the listeners. Listen,
nice.
Listeners.
Lytol.
What?
Never mind. I spelled it wrong. Keep going. Damn it.
Listen. On the breakfast dish, we continue my breakfast series from Facebook, in which we meet people and hear about how great they are. And specifically for this podcast, we hear about any art that is happening online or socially distanced or audio-wise, or might be, in a museum, things like that.
Sorry, what's the last one?
Well, Neil Zeller's got his portraits in the Glenbow Museum right now. Anyway, we can't go to the theater. We can't go watch concerts. We can't go watch some dancing. So we're going to tell you all the stuff that you can watch right now or listen to or experience here on The Breakfast Dish. How is that, Griff?
It's pretty good. Why don't you intro our guest? We've beat around the bush enough.
Okay. I wish everybody could be in the Zoom room we're in right now with Louise Casemore, because she is right out of a Vogue magazine. Like, she just is stunningly beautiful, and I hope you can hear the amazing shade of her lipstick. Playwright and producer, Louise Casemore. Hi.
You are entirely too kind. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Where are we?
We're morning. We're definitely morning.
That's the best intro this podcast ever had. Well done, Karen. That was very good.
Thanks, son. You look good too, by the way, but holy cow.
Hey, I don't need that. I don't need that pity stuff, okay?
But I also did promise myself not to be that person that completely, the very first thing I do is comment on someone's appearance. But it was a little hard to not do that today, Louise, because you look gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about your work. Let's hear about you. How old are you? Where did you grow up? What's your favorite color? What sign are you?
Amazing.
Yeah, and those all have to be in that exact order, so go ahead.
Great. Oh, goodness. Who am I? I'm Louise Casemore. How old am I? Wow. I'm officially, I guess, of the age where I start to stall a little bit before I announce how old I am.
Well, here's the thing. You can also lie. We're not going to tell anybody.
That's true. Yeah, and the magic of radio. I don't actually know. I'm totally comfortable with it. I am 35 years old. I am from Edmonton originally and made the move to Calgary just shy of 5 years ago. I am an Aquarius, which I spent the bulk of my life being pretty sure that meant I was very aquatically inclined. Got a tattoo about it. Later found out it's an air sign, and I don't really know anything about astrology whatsoever. And I'm just sort of committing hard to that failure every day for the rest of my life.
Did you get the Aquarius symbol tattooed?
Not that far, thankfully. No. It's a big old sort of fire and water scape across my whole shoulder blades, and now I sort of just snarkily say it's about balance friends. It's about balance.
It's actually kind of a yin and yang thing. I love the elements.
Tattoo some earth on there, and then you have the earth and the water and the fire, and then you go, and I am the air.
100%. And I love Captain Planet. Just
nice.
commit.
That's good.
Yeah.
What was the power that no one wanted on Captain Planet? Was it heart?
Friendship. Yeah, it was heart.
Heart? Yeah. Oh, that kid really got screwed over.
Yeah. The spirit
Is this a real thing?
Oh, yeah. Captain Planet?
Yeah.
Come on
The
now.
Planeteers? You don't know about Captain Planet? How do I know and you don't?
I've never heard a thicker silence in my life than that sort of movie.
I know Captain Newfoundland.
Right. That's far from what we're talking about.
It was a cartoon. It was a television show. It was sort of like Care Bears, but with the environment.
Yeah, and it kind of looks exactly like Louise's tattoo. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah. There's a visual representation on my back forever if you need it.
That's right.
I do want at some point in my life to be able to talk about an experience and then say, so I got a tattoo about it.
Wait a minute. This is big news. Karen, what kind of tattoo would you get right now if you had to? What would you get?
Oh, a big picture of your baby face right on my forehead.
No, boo. Come on. Give me. I want a real one.
Neil
one.
Diamond. I'd get a diamond somewhere on my body. I don't know. My
That's
pinky
good.
toe so that it would never show. Because
Okay.
I'm chicken.
All right.
Cute.
Anyway, Louise,
Uh-huh.
let's talk more about your tattoos.
Right. So yeah, Louise tattoo is balanced. I'm 15, and Karen has a diamond pinky toe. That's what we're established so far.
That brings us up to now, I think.
That's
We're
right.
doing great.
Louise, you are endeavoring in a creative project that is also, I hope I'm right about this, also funded by the Calgary Arts Development, the Calgary Foundation, and the Rozsa Foundation.
You got it.
Okay, good.
My 3 best friends.
All my buddies are here. Called Words in Progress.
Indeed.
And when I first discovered Words in Progress, you were talking a little bit about the inspiration for Words in Progress, some other endeavor somewhere that I cannot for the life of me remember. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, trying to guess where you were when you first heard about it.
That's right.
Yeah, how much time do you
yeah.
have? Yeah. Words in Progress came out of the online digital programming that the Rozsa Foundation put forward in the wake of COVID. The idea behind it was after sitting in the muck for a couple of weeks as a playwright and feeling like, so much infrastructure of setting up, work and commissions and productions and all these sorts of things was crumbled and continuously uncertain. Inside of that, I was missing quite a bit of connection amongst artists, certainly, and amongst people in general, and feeling a bit down at the prospect of all of these artists who, especially as playwrights, already work in a pretty isolated sort of corner of the practice. I'm always interested in playwright conversations. I'm always interested in the peculiar, widespread difference amongst playwrights of how they create, but there's so many sort of weirdo commonalities inside of what we do as well, of trying to provide a bit of a platform for people to talk about things that they are working on from a place that isn't, so here's all the things I've lost, to give a bit of a space for conversation about creation, and also just a practical opportunity for playwrights to get together and yak about it and talk about the world like it isn't completely ended.
I really like the consideration of playwriting itself being already a very solo activity. I don't know if that's something that always occurs to people, because even a lot of designers work solo, but they get to come in at towards the tech and dress and finalize and do their things, where unless it's like a new play or in development where the playwright's in the room, you don't get to hang out with the cast and crew. That's a very good point.
Definitely. And in addition to the fact that it's obviously different for everyone, but plays can and do and will take years, whether it's years to write them or years to market them or years to get them done and produced and all that sort of thing. And I know for me, I've always been really boasted by opportunities to, I always say I like to have, when it comes to a deadline for something, I don't want a gun to my head, but I definitely want one in the room. I want one around.
In the desk drawer.
Vaguely around. And sometimes those sort of short format things can be a reason to either pull something off the shelf or pull something, out of that drafts file, or just a space to create with no stakes, right? Without the regard or the worry or the concern about how is this going to get produced or what's going to happen with this, but being yeah, I got 10 minutes in me. Let's do it. Let's party and let's make something.
Right, the equivalent of one of those old-timey criminals who just like shoved their fingers into their trench coat pocket and be like, I have a gun.
Yeah.
That's what all playwrights need.
I'm cooking on something. Yeah, I can take that idea and make 10 minutes out of it.
I need someone to lie about a gun, please.
That's all we're doing as playwrights. We're just lying about the gun in our pocket.
I think that's a play right there.
Yeah. I would say that's a real thing that happens every day. I would say, like, you take any sort of, symposium of artists and get everyone to talk about what they're working on. And I know certainly in my professional career, like I sold my first show to a theater and then went home and went, shit, I guess I should write this thing now. Like, I think we're sort of in the business of taking ideas and sort of testing out the waters and putting them out into the world and speaking them and then saying,
right, those guys totally called my bluff. I got to do it now.
100%. I would wager that some major things have happened as a result of a bluff being called. That's the foundation of the bulk of my career. Love letters and bluffs.
Before we talk about the playwrights that you have been showcasing and the ones coming up on Tuesday, October 6th, which is tomorrow, can I just back up a little bit and talk about your ATP show that is sitting on a back burner somewhere now?
Sure. Yeah.
Talk to me. You were to be in this season. We were to be able to see a Louise Casemore work.
Talk to me.
On the ATP stage.
Yes.
And obviously we're not seeing anybody's work, but that was the one I was most excited about in that season announcement. So please talk about that.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so lovely. So Undressed has been in the works and on its way for a couple of years. It was an ATP commission, and we were set to have the world premiere in March of 2021. Obviously, with things being fairly in flux in terms of access to spaces and the gathering of people, we are in a little bit of a wait and see place right now. I am incredibly fortunate and very grateful that ATP has maintained their commitment and maintained great communication through the chaos and all of the shifting and all of that sort of things. There are things that are in our hands and things that are out of our hands, but we've, between myself and Jenna Rodgers, the director and my dramaturg for the show, who's been with me very significantly inside of that, we've just maintained a bit of an open spirit of optimism of going, hey, you know what, it's when it gets there, it gets there. But we're all sort of marching towards the same hopeful end result of being able to premiere at the Martha Cohen as soon as safely possible.
And this is only something I know because I'm pretty sure Darcy said at the season announcement, when you pitched the show to him, you performed it in their costume shop, right?
No, when the show was pitched, but when we were first into the sort of commissioning process and I was writing, we did the first read of the show once it sort of had evolved from a cabaret act that I had done at Dirt Buffet Cabaret in Edmonton. Once it was starting to actually evolve into a functional script, the first reading that we did was in the costume shop. And I just sort of in a bout of sentimentality fell down a little photo rabbit hole the other day and saw some pictures from that. And it really was quite incredible. Like, it was really amazing to assemble an audience in that space. Huge kudos still to this day for the incredible staff at ATP for like managing to guide people through the bowels of Arts Commons to get them to that costume shop.
Yeah.
It's not an easy space to find as a just person coming in off the street, and also like as right. Me as an artist.
Tell us about the play itself and why it made sense that you were doing it in the costume shop.
Sure. So the play is a solo show written and performed by myself that was centered around my true experiences spending years trying to find a place to offload my wedding gown. So it centers around the most expensive piece of clothing that you wear for one day for most people, which is a wedding dress, and looks at the sort of peculiar and powerful experience that it is to have a wedding dress, to own a wedding dress, and to really wonder like what the heck you're sort of supposed to do with it once the big day has come and gone. So especially in consideration of like the environmental impact of the wedding industry, and also I was quite interested in the notion of traditions that are long held that evolve. As our traditions surrounding marriage and weddings have certainly evolved in the past, 20 years in a really significant way. And so I was struck in my own experience with thinking it would be pretty easy to find a place to repurpose it. And then I spent years trying to find anyone and anywhere that I could take it and being very unsuccessful, mostly because the amount of people that are trying to, get rid of their gowns, whether it's because of, divorce or actually just not wanting to drag it around anymore, which was my case originally. Most charities and organizations and all those sorts of places are actually so overrun by donations that there's waiting lists that go years at a time. They won't accept dresses that aren't basically brand new. And it sort of struck a chord with me, this idea of, first of all, being a little bit caught on the pomposity of a person like myself going like, I'm going to pass this on to a, person, the altruism inside of it.
I'm a great person.
I'm a great human being. Look at what I've done. But also sort of really being struck by this notion that like there are so many people. There's like over 2.5 million weddings that happen in North America every single year. And the impact that has from a waste perspective, from an environmental perspective, and also from a cultural perspective of gowns with no place to go, it sort of inspired a theatrical experience that has now blossomed into the massive sort of cabaret exorcism that is the play Undressed.
Cabaret exorcism. Karen, this is something I don't know about you. Do you still have your wedding dress?
I still have my wedding dress. It is still hanging in the back of the closet, and I've never once even gotten it cleaned since the wedding day. There is 27-year-old dirt on that wedding dress.
Amazing.
Wait, back of the closet, like the walk-in closet that I used to record in?
The walk-in closet.
I've never seen your wedding dress. Have I ever seen it?
Well, you will today, I guess.
Yes.
I guess we have to. I guess I have to come over. I don't know.
Have you seen some photos? I don't know. Do you look at my pictures? Do you care about me at all?
That's true. Actually, I have seen the photos. All right. Well, speaking of an evolving exorcism, let's turn back to a second to Words in Progress, and let me talk at you for a second if I understand the format of it.
Yeah.
In that you bring on 3 playwrights who are currently working on a script or a project or in some stage of that.
You betcha.
They either read a section or portion of the play they're working on, or it's just a discussion around the project they're working on. And then you have a special guest who is not one of the 3 playwrights who joins to facilitate and offer perspectives.
I love the question mark in your voice, but you're doing awesome. Yeah, no,
Okay, great.
You nailed it. That's sort of it in a nutshell. We've got 3 playwrights that are, based in and around the Calgary area, the Calgary region, who are working on a new piece, cooking on something. And so we have the playwrights read in their own words selections from their new work, and then we chat. We have some conversations about the work, about their process, about how things are going with it, about their feelings inside of it, and then we open it up to some bigger discussions as artists and people in the community, and that's the party.
and there's something special about this digital creative kind of presentation is that you. And correct me if I'm wrong here, that you always have a non-for-profit affiliated or a charitable organization.
Yeah, so part of the basis of the project was that between the support funding through the Rozsa Foundation, City of Calgary, Calgary Arts Development, and a fantastic sort of vote of confidence from the Playwrights Guild of Canada, we had, the artist fees taken care of for everybody involved, so we can make sure the playwrights were all being paid and paid fairly and recognized for their time and their effort. So with those things sort of taken care of, my idea was that, I wanted to make it, free and easy to view, to basically make it as easy as possible for people to just click a button and be able to engage with the work. But inside of that, if we can offer it to the public for free and the artists are being paid, maybe we can ask people to, inside of this complicated time, not just for individuals, but also for nonprofits, ask them to consider tossing a few bucks that they maybe would have spent on a ticket or a glass of wine at an event like this, and put it towards a local organization that we call our Pay It Forward partner. So over the course of the series, it's been actually really incredible for me to sort of have a strange sense of permission to do some real learning about the nonprofit organizations that exist in Calgary. We have such a wide spread of a variety of organizations, and actually through the Calgary Foundation website, they have compiled specifically a list of Calgary nonprofits that are struggling in the wake of COVID-19. So that was an instant resource for me to be able to snoop around on there and to make some connections to organizations to spread some awareness and hopefully get a few bucks in their pockets inside of this. And worst case scenario, if it gets anybody sort of aware or talking about these different organizations that are doing incredible work inside the city, then that's fantastic. And the system works in that case, in my opinion.
Who are the playwrights that we will be experiencing, loving, enjoying, watching, listening to on Tuesday night, October 6th?
Tomorrow's such a treat. I feel like every now and again the schedule gods sort of come together and deliver me just an absolute gift, and I feel like that's what tomorrow has turned into. So our featured playwrights for tomorrow are Michaela Geoffrey, Bianca Miranda, and Sepidar Yagane Farid. And our special guest is Elisa Braddock. And our Pay It Forward partner for tomorrow is the Calgary Counseling Centre, and our featured musician is Miranda Martini. So come actually on. What a banger.
Wait, do you also have a featured musician every time?
Yeah. So one of the things that we did as part of sort of our questionnaire for the playwrights when we were getting things organized, I was thinking it would be interesting to be able to showcase some local music. Like the Calgary connections really never stop with the event, and I was like, instead of just randomly playing my sort of sad bastard Spotify playlist, whatever's like happening on my phone.
35 minutes of Sum 41.
That's so hurtful.
No, I love it. That's why I reference it. It was remember, I'm 50.
You're telling on yourself.
Yeah.
So we feature a local musical act in the opening and closing of each event. As we prep for the live stream, we do feature music from Calgary musicians and area musicians as well. So that's been a fantastic, like another layer of connection to be able to get in touch with folks and say, hey, what are you up to? In Miranda's case, she just created some incredible music for Cheryl Fogo's film with John Ware, which is running in the film festivals all around the province right now.
And extended now, extra screenings because it's in such high demand.
Even the online screenings tickets are sold out.
Yeah.
Which is like an incredible feat, absolutely, and very well deserved. So we're super excited to have Miranda's music featured for tomorrow as well.
And you've had a very solid line of playwrights even up to this point, like a very good a range of emerging to, I would say, like established playwrights. You have Geoffrey Simon Brown to Zach Ronancody to Neil Fleming, like it all over the map, which is really exciting. I find when I see the lineups of the Words in Progress, like the different disciplines and points in their career and perspectives, like it's a really good matchup, but also a really good not miasmo. What's that? Mosaic. There we go. Mosaic of plays and playwrights.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, inside of the sort of, there's consciousness to it. Like there's a gentle curation inside of it, but in wanting to create experiences that are, I guess, just the gift of access for the artists as well. Like to me, it's as exciting to be able to see a highly established playwright like Tara Beagan be able to, vibe with and communicate with and relate to, a playwright that is newer in their experience or developing their practice, developing their language for how they're working. And so having a combination of experiences and genres and backgrounds and all that sort of stuff has really been part of the gift. And I have been continuously blown away by the depth of just the wide array of people that are creating in Calgary, especially. Like the playwriting voice here is so interesting and so widespread. And because we don't often have these opportunities to connect and get in a room together, other than sort of, the squirrely perimeters of the room of an opening night somewhere here and there, just sort of, nodding quietly at each other from behind our notebooks, of course, because we're all nerds.
That's right. Did Louise bring a typewriter to this opening night? It's amazing.
It's so disruptive, but
it's crazy big. It's so loud.
Yeah, it's vaguely charming, but it's mostly really inappropriate.
She's had a +1, but she brought a stenographer? Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have more questions than answers every time. Yeah. So it's been awesome. It's been awesome to be able to see how things have shaken down to go like, oh, delicious. Like these people all sort of hanging out in a room and in a digital room. And we are quite conscious inside the experience to focus on the folks inside of it. So being able to foster that conversation amongst the people inside the Zoom call, which is the artist participants, with the hopes that the experience on the outside for the viewer is that they feel by proxy like they're part of that conversation, as opposed to sort of the more stilted sort of panel experience, which is, 3 people sitting on an uncomfortable bar stool waiting for their turn to talk. We're focusing on the inner heart of the experience, I guess, the inner guts of it, to say, let's just pretend like we're all in our houses. This is all, I often have plants like sort of staged behind me that is not a correct depiction of the way my office actually looks.
It's always, look at these 11 books I've never read. That's right.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I discovered a Twitter account through my sister yesterday, and it's just a guy who takes pictures of people who are doing Zoom calls and then rates their background, like how the staging
That's not fair. That's not fair to them.
I never want him to know me.
Yeah, you are not invited to my birthday party.
Never find
ever.
me.
Well, I was thinking, Louise, that you said you had found that complete list of the charities and nonprofits that were struggling right now. It feels like what you're doing is creating this amazing list of Calgary playwrights that maybe people that don't follow theater are going to become more aware of the fact that we have a gazillion amazing award-winning playwrights in this city.
Yeah, and that the work that is being created is so endlessly fascinating and so endlessly different, that there is so many different styles. It's part of one of like the more interesting things inside the process is to be able to look at the approach that people are taking, not just to the content that they're writing about, but the approach to writing. One of my favorite parts of the events is to open up sort of like a Brady Bunch view question after the readings are done. We're shaking off the nerves of reading our own work, which is like horrifying and just a fever nightmare no matter what. So we get past all that part and then we open it up into conversation. And some of the things that come out of that are really reveal like just the interesting differences to how people create and how they write, and that, yeah, geography certainly plays a big part in our relationship to the work that we're making. And so it's pretty fun to me to see, especially when we had Vicky Stroich was one of our special guests. She has this delicious question that she asked the playwrights, which is to let them read their bit and reflect on it. And then she goes, and what do you love about it?
Oh, yeah.
And there's just the thickness of the juicy discomfort of people sort of being so beautifully sort of confronted by this question of like, say you like yourself, and like, yeah, admit you have some semblance, a little nugget of self-esteem in there. You love this. And so what comes out of that is just super interesting and rich, and I'm just so proud of our community and the people that are inside of it, and we could do 100 episodes and we would never hit the wall of where Calgary's playwriting community could go.
My assumption would be, and tell me if I'm wrong, that there would be some works being created that address what we're going through right now, or are people avoiding the topic of COVID?
That's a question I often have too. I always have the curiosity of where does what's happening right now live inside the work, whether live inside the content or live inside, do you feel a weird pressure to acknowledge it? And even inside of, what we've been working on with Undressed in the time of the pandemic, like we had a full workshop of the show, a full script workshop. Jenna, Rodgers, and I on Zoom for 8 hours a day for a week, like diving in and really digging into the text. And it does, at least for me, because of the work that I create, like that question is definitely present of being like, do we need to acknowledge it? Do we have to acknowledge it? Is it weird if you don't acknowledge it? It's sort of like there's this perpetual sort of car crash in the room that everyone's going like, do we throw a picnic blanket over top of it? Yeah. Or do we, do we say the thing? And it seems to be pretty varied. There are some folks that are really leaning into it and going, this is an opportunity to create and address it and give some space to it. And others that wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And I think both of those things are correct. And both of those things are super interesting.
Did you ever see or read Eugene Stickland's All Clear?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as this all started, I went, oh my gosh, that play is like ripe for production right now and nobody can do it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, certainly for me, like even when we did a reading of Undressed during the pandemic, there is, because the basis of Undressed is that it's a live wedding dress auction. So you as audience members are in fact willing guests and participants at a live wedding gown auction. That's the basis of the show. That's the conceit. And so inside of exploring the topic of what is it that makes weddings so significant, and part of what makes them what they are is the communal aspect, which obviously has a correlation to the theater and the things that we're doing, and there are certain lines inside that show that, while once somewhat cheeky in a way, a little bit cheeky, a little bit meta in terms of anything could happen with a room full of people, things like that now have a very different resonance when, we've been had our ability to congregate and gather drastically altered and taken away in some cases. Yeah, those things can sort of work for you in terms of acknowledging what's happening in the room, or they can also push you over the top, which is something that I'm sort of aware of as well.
And if an audience member or an arts patron wanted to go back and say experience the juicy question that Vicky Stroich asked, are the Words in Progress showcases archived, or are they like a one-time deal?
They're live, baby. Yeah, they are live. Yeah. They're live, and they're live for a couple of reasons. To me, largely the notion of just making an event about it, making it a thing that put it on your calendar, you show up for a time, we're in this together, and also like the liveness of the conversation, I think is a bit electric and a bit juicy in terms of we are having conversations, and sometimes they're tough conversations. Like sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we're coming into that space exhausted or frustrated or feeling really uncertain, and so I'm attracted to the live component because I think it does, to me, feel connected to this idea that we are in this together. It's not with a space of distance of, we did a thing at one point and you can sort of, be a voyeur whenever you want. It's like, no, we're showing up. We're showing up for this 2-hour window every 2 weeks and we're doing this thing together. That was sort of important to me at the outset.
Totally. I mean, I think having it, live, kind of as you said, it reincarnates the kind of love that everyone's talking that they miss about theater. It's the fact that it is like a one fireworks shot of a thing. And also it's the kind of something we're all exploring in the new ways we present is the idea of gathering, right? You have to gather at the one time to do the thing or you're going to miss it.
Yeah. And I feel like I was just having this conversation with a colleague yesterday that in looking at our evolution of how we are taking in digital content, I think is interesting. And I think it's important to maintain a sense of relationship with that consciousness that, when things started, the first play that I watched online, I had a whole setup. I poured a glass of wine. I turned the lights off. I, lit a candle. I put pants on. Like I made a to-do of it, because it just felt so important and so meaningful to gather at a time inside this expanded abyss of meaningless time with nowhere to go and nothing to do. Real existential disaster for me there. But having an event, having something to go to, making my space nice and not, sitting on Netflix, paying my phone bill while I'm watching, the season finale of The Sopranos again or whatever, like being able to make it into something that you're just showing up for, and how we maintain that as consumers now of more and more and more digital offerings and digital content. To me, I'm constantly having to check myself to be like, no, if you're going to consume a piece of art that someone has created, like you need to treat it with the space that I would if it was a live experience, because it's pretty easy to watch. Like I watched like a $500,000 production of a BBC dance theater company, like sort of half asleep, sliding off the couch, applying for jobs on Kijiji. Like you don't want to have so much opportunity, that we're just consuming it mindlessly like anything else. I refuse to let that happen to myself. I'm really fighting it.
That's so great.
We were talking a little bit before that the first season of Words in Progress is on its way to closing. How many opportunities do people have to experience it and put on pants and light a candle and make it to do?
Yes, I love the notion that people are, if even just one person put on pants for Words in Progress, I would feel our job was really done.
We're going to talk about your social medias at the end of this, and I bet you someone's going to send you a message.
Little bit of Insta proof.
I did it, Louise, for you. I did it.
Bluff calls. Yeah, bluff calls. #. So we are rounding third base on this first season as it is of Words in Progress. So we have 2 events left, one October 6th. And then our season finale is October 20th. And I will tell you right now that I have some really delicious surprises that I can't wait for people to find out about.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us the surprises right now.
I can't. It's a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster inside of a windstorm, inside of a tidal pool.
Just tell Griffin and I right now. We won't let anyone else know.
That's not true. I'm editing. I could leave it in.
That's true.
Remember, I'm 15. I'm kind of a brat.
You know what? I love that. That was actually what I was thinking of with the 15-year-old. I'm like, I love the mischief of the 15-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And I considered at one point actually saying maybe I hadn't started recording, but I can't. I can't do it. I can't. I'm just...
But I would have loved it. There's I was watching some internet video about the origin of Christmas, some like Christmas traditions. And this was a while ago, obviously, but back in pagan times, it used to be for a while there that all the lower income people of a certain UK household or city would all kind of gather together and kind of take over the town, and they'd name one of them the Lord of Misrule. And I think Lord of Misrule is what I aspire to be. That's a very excellent title.
Outstanding. And I see you with a perfect, like, the Christmas cracker crown. The little,
that's right.
Like, paper jughead crown.
Bring me a pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, what exactly does one have to do if one wants to watch these amazing playwrights read their stuff tomorrow night?
Absolutely. So we are very fortunate. Theatre Alberta, we're huge supporters and really enthusiastic about the series.
I love Theatre Alberta.
Oh my goodness. I could toot the Theatre Alberta horn all day long, which is a turn of phrase I instantly regret.
Toot, toot.
But yes, the heroes at Theatre Alberta have been absolutely incredible and really enthusiastically jumped on board to basically let me squat on their very professional website as the web host for the series. So we have a dedicated page on the Theatre Alberta website. So theatrealberta.com. We are right there on the front page, and those shows live stream on their website with just the click of a button there. So easy peasy. Great. Yeah, show up online. It's in the same place absolutely every time, and we'll be there live at 5 p.m.
If you've ever heard Griffin and I go on and on and on about Arts Trek, that's a summer school presented by Theatre Alberta, which is a provincial service organization.
Yes, and keeping on kind of the playwright route, you might have heard Karen and I boast about the Theatre Alberta Library that delivers any kind of play that you want, that you could ever dream of, right to your door.
You can borrow these books for free wherever you are in Alberta, and then they will pay to have them brought back to them. That's the kind of place Theatre Alberta is, really.
100%. Yeah, every single person that's working with them is just down to support a big idea. Like, they are a service organization through and through who, especially like even in the circumstances of Words in Progress, like it feels pretty straightforward, right? Like, hey, can I borrow your YouTube account so that I can do these streams? Let me tell you, technical nightmare, really, logistically, to set these things up. Like, and they just were so open and super generous that there is, a staff member at Theatre Alberta who is there live with us every single time, every 2 weeks, and they're doing it just for the love of it. It's really, their support has been absolutely incredible, and I can't thank them enough.
Is that Ray Brickwood that's been with you?
It sure is, yeah.
Oh, he's a genius.
You can even see it in some of their promotion where, you get Theatre Alberta tweets out about everything happening, but there's one time where they tweet about Words in Progress, and they go, what a lineup! Like, they just do a big, like, hey, this rocks! WIP, baby. Right. Karen, what else is happening this week?
The first thing I want to tell you about is Vertigo Theatre. We all love Vertigo. Mystery theater, right? Like,
I would die for Vertigo Theatre.
You would die for Vertigo Theatre. That's probably the first theater you went to. They've gone ahead and done an audio play. Vertigo Theatre, in conjunction with 6 Degrees Studio, have produced The Voice on the Wire by Robert Sloan. It is available for download, and listen to who's in it. It's directed by Christian Gutsis. It has Mike Tan, Anna Kummer, Chantal Hahn, and Christopher Hunt. So what a lineup, as Theatre Alberta is known to say. Go to vertigotheatre.com to download that. And also, if you're up north in Fort McMurray, and some of these might actually happen Zoom, I don't know, but they have a theater workshop series happening. Theater Just Because, which is a professional theater company in Fort McMurray, is offering workshops all the way to March 27th, 2021. So I'm just going to tell you a couple of the October ones now, because you might want to get in there and sign up. There's a How to Record Theater at Home with MacGuffin Media. Oh. That's October 10th. And October 24th is an Introduction to Safe Spaces with Alexandra DeRoche. And then How to Self-Produce in Fort McMurray, and Probably Anywhere with Hannah Fridhead, November 14th. So
it is nice to have a self-produce, like, for that city. That's nice.
Well, yeah, and Theatre Just Because, they're cooking things up. They do these great dinner theaters. I've worked up at Fort Mac a couple of times with Keanu Theatre, And I think a lot of people have no idea how artsy Fort McMurray is unless you're actually there.
Right.
So those are the things I wanted to talk about this week, Griffin Cork.
And Louise, what about you? What about your personal socials? Do you want anything to plug so people can talk to you about the pants that they put on for for Words in Progress?
And the wine they're drinking.
Or maybe not.
Yeah, sure. Get at me about your pants and the fact that you're wearing them. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah, certainly. I'm on the Twitter. I'm on the Insta. I'm at Lady Jerk Daniels. I used to be just Jerk Daniels because that was my pretend roller derby name.
I wondered about that. Roller derby. Hell yeah.
Yeah. If I was a roller derby girl, Jerk Daniels would be my name for sure. And then as a result of a handle snafu, I got relegated to being Lady Jerk Daniels. Jerk Daniels got stolen and got bought out from me.
By who? For what?
You know what? If you had told me that I would end up telling that story here today, I never would have believed you. But yeah, I am the aforementioned Lady Jerk Daniels on Twitter.
The artist formerly known as Jerk Daniels.
Exactly. Yeah, they couldn't handle it. They needed me to, I don't know, be afraid of them. But
relinquish.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't handle it. But yeah, I'm on the Twitters, I'm on the Instagrams. Words in Progress is on Facebook, and we're hanging out on those platforms a heck of a lot these days. So I'm around and always looking for memes and funny chats and lively debate.
Perfect. Louise, thank you very much for joining us on The Breakfast Dish.
What a pleasure. What a sunshiny treat. This has been a delightful social occasion that I had to do very little to organize. So for me, this to be a guest, what a lovely time.
Yay!
I've already kind of talked about it, but we do want to thank our funders one more time, the Calgary Arts Development Authority, the Rozsa Foundation, and the Calgary Foundation. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear is by Alexander Cowman. All graphic design for The Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Ermter. And Louise, we like to end the show with a improvised breakfast theme question that Karen makes up right here because she's a professional improviser. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
If you were writing a play about breakfast, what is the title of it?
The cavernous silence that just happened to me. If I was writing a play about breakfast...
Oh, leave it there. Leave it there. That's good.
The most macabre breakfast I've ever heard.
Cavernous silence that just happened to me. I love it. I would rather read a play called The Cavernous Silence That Just Happened to Me than Omelets and Bacon.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Within Drew's podcast that you folks so lovingly covered, and
Vigilante Book Club,
they are constantly in the process of creating their ads. They run like fake ads inside the podcast.
Yep.
And it is just a fantastic word association game of like even the simple setup of like today's episode is brought to you by. Is like just such a beautiful, rich space.
I'm jealous of those. I wish I'd thought of that for our podcast, is the fake ad.
We do some fake ads.
Yeah, sort of.
If you want to send Karen some fake ad ideas or you want to see some more improv games, you can find her on Twitter at Mrs. N. Diamond or Instagram at Karen Johnson Diamond. I'm at Griffin Cork at all the places. We've been your hosts. And Louise Casemore has joined us. Roller derby, candle keep, pants on, and words progressing. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bop, 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 bop. This has been The Breakfast Dish.